Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Oberon's Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges, which is a weekly tarot forecast for the signs of the Zodiac. I do this by grouping them in their elemental associations, and I'll explain more about that in a moment. This reading is good for the week ahead from today, Friday, April. Oh, what is it? The 10th? Till next Thursday, which would be the 16th. So that's what's going on. And of course, we always do a word of the week, which is the word that each of those elemental associations should consider as they approach the emotional situations that this next week will hold for them. And of course, I want to note that emotions are at a fever point for many people due to the extended, literally global quarantining and social distancing that's going on. And we saw that a little bit in some of last week's forecast. It was kind of um, hard for a number of the signs to deal with. There were just a number of situations that we just do not have control over at this point. So I want to remind people to play it as loose as possible, to try to be as kind and as understanding as possible. Hopefully, we are going to get through this all really soon. So let's get started. We're going to be reading for our air signs first. Air signs are Gemini, which is soon, and they're also Libra and also Aquarius. And air signs tend to be a little bit more on the intellectual or practical side of things, so that may be the consideration that comes into mind for them when they apply themselves to emotional situations. And these emotional situations may run a gamut. They may not be necessarily about primary relationships, although a lot of times they are. They could just be about important relationships. They could be about casual relationships or relationships that we have in different compartments, such as our work status with our coworkers and things like that, or people in our religious community, and of course, true family or family of our heart, those kind of things. So, without saying much more about that, we're going to do the air signs word of the week. And that word of the week is actually art and science, which means basically liberal arts. That's kind of a good fit for air signs. They tend to be a little bit more scientific, a little bit more culturally approaching things. So perhaps during this week ahead, air signs will need to consider how they approach the various situations that they are emotionally involved in with an eye towards understanding it from a cultural and or accepted science perspective. So we're going to go with that. And we're going to just say good week. I have a feeling that maybe now that we passed a full moon, some of the super heightened emotionality that we may have been experiencing over last week and accumulating with yesterday, Thursday, is nearly at an over if it isn't. So I'm going to shuffle the cards to draw our 3 cards for the air signs, and we will see what is up with them. So here we go with that. And our 3 cards are, this is the reversed 10 of Wands. And then we also have a reversed 10 of Cups. That's very interesting. I get this a lot in readings that we do on TFT Tarot for Today, our live stream. We sometimes get within our 3 card readings a lot of paired suits or things like that, and we sort of feel those create maybe certain framings of the situations that are at hand. And then we also have the reversed Prince of Wands, which is also an important card. Me and my partner on the live stream, Banshee, we tend to differ a little bit about some of that. I'm making a slight adjustment here with my camera. It seems to be a little bit unfitting here, so we'll try to deal with that. At any rate, the Ten of Wands reversed. In this next week, I think some people are going to be finding themselves, these air signs, as having kind of pulled away or removed themselves from some uncomfortable and limiting situations. This may have something to do with our emotional life, because I also see that Ten of Cups there. And to me, that Ten of Cups reverse is sort of implying kind of that these two do have a relationship, that maybe we are pulling away from some negativity or some family emotional hard to handle situations. And like I said earlier, everybody's almost at their breaking point. And part of that culprit I'm seeing possibly is in the Prince of Wands. And I'm just going to have to say that as a fire sign. And it's also the corollary to the Knight. It looks to me like somebody rushing in who is trying to gain trust or trying to present as the wise person, the knowledgeable person in your family or your group, and they are probably not really that person. They may have a different agenda. I'm not going to get into any of the political ramifications around dealing with the virus issues, but I get a feeling like it could be similar to that, where you just really have this divide. And so it is probably better to pull back from this family situation. It looks literally like it's going toxic in this week. So unfortunately, I think it may take a week or more to play out. So we'll have to check in next week and see what's going on. But that's what I have for the air signs. So it doesn't look exactly pretty, but it doesn't look dramatically horrid, as some of us might say. So now we're going to move on to the fire signs. And fire signs, nice fire image there from my cartouche, which is an Egyptian themed divination set. Fire signs are Aries, like the good old Banshee, and they're also Leo, and they're also Sagittarius. And fire signs tend to be quick to move under certain conditions. They may be quick to feel offended, but they may be quick to respond to kindness too. So they're a little bit of a paradox to me sometimes. They're transformative kind of energy based in their signs, so they all have this potential to really be a mover and a shaker, So fire signs, you deal with emotionality literally in a pretty much quicker and immediate manner. What is your word of the week, oh fire signs? Well, maybe you're going to have to take a moment off, because your word of the week is perplexity. And I think this is a good card, because I think with perplexity, fire signs should consider that they cannot judge all situations exactly, totally per themselves in their own range of experience. I'm not saying that's all fire signs, but I do know that some fire signs tend to feel they set the standard, and that may mostly be true in terms of the dynamic energies they bring. But other people, other signs have dynamics and depths that they don't always notice, perhaps. And so I'm telling the fire signs to look at the perplexity of what is around you, especially other people's thoughts and feelings, and try to apply that to the emotional energies that are going on this week. So that's your word of the week. And now we are going to shuffle the cards. And I want to just tell everybody, I really enjoy doing the emotional outlook readings. So I hope they get a little bit more likes, hint, hint. And I hope people feel free to share them around. I really do feel empowered to share some of this because I think that from my own point of view, understanding our emotions is literally as important as understanding everything, because so much of our agendas and our strategies and our movements to goals are undergirded with the flow and the strength of our emotions. So now I'm going to pull those cards for the fire signs. And we have, continuing our trend of reversed, yuck, but we have the reversed Empress. And then we have the reversed Princess of Wands. We had her sort of partner in the Wands court cards, the Prince, also reversed for air signs. And then we have a repeat shower from our last reading, also in the same position, and that's the Ten of Wands reversed. So let's see what this means here. How we're dealing with emotional realms and situations, currents and undercurrents. I'm sensing that maybe we're having a sense of some stagnation or slowing down, and of course that's commiserate with what's going on with the virus precautions, and people who are normally emboldened to really try to express themselves by creative projects, especially growing things. I mean, this is the time of year that so many people want to get out and work in their gardens or on their lawns or on projects outside. And yet there's a sense of this being disrupted very big time right now. And so I'm seeing that with the fire signs who are used to kind of, calling their tune for themselves and just leading the charge. And so try to understand that perplexity about the situation. If you're having a hard time feeling like you're being marginalized, look at it from that point of view, that this is a complex time and we have to learn how to help each other. Now with the Princess of Wands, who's more akin to the Page of Wands, and it's reversed, I'm getting the feeling too that basically there is a sense of depression over the fact that you are getting messaging, you are receiving information that tells you this is taking much too long, certainly for your taste. Like I mentioned, the fire signs tend to be a little bit more quicker on movement things. And so with the idea that you've heard there's a disruption, there's a delay to projects, is also the sense that you don't see this really ending anytime soon, that this message is really talking about some duration of time. But I want you to keep in mind that what the cards are saying is that with the Ten of Wands, some of these problems and burdens will be released. It may be with Wands, I'm feeling it's taking us more towards the fall. We have two Wands there. So this is really going to be big time for many of us. And I think, that word of the week, perplexity, maybe is going to apply for a season or more, and maybe for all signs, because I think all of us are really going to have to understand there's such complex things going on here. And we need to stay vigilant, though. We can't just totally fall back into depression and other things. We need to remember that we will be able to emulate our Empress again. We will be able to be productive and fully creative and make everything flourish. I promise you this will happen for most of us. We just got to get there. So that is what I do have for the fire signs. And now we're going to move on to the water signs, which are near and dear to my own heart since I am a water sign. Look at that lovely flow there. Get the glare off. There we go. And water signs are signs such as Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. I kind of did them in Widdershins back around the Zodiac. Water signs generally are well known to be a little bit more emotionally based. Some of them may be to greater depths. Scorpios are maybe a little bit different in that regard because they're girded with a lot of the strength of the Plutonian influence and also the Mars influence, which brings a lot of fire. but they all have an emotional way of looking at things, and they tend to feel things more deeper in their heart and take things more to heart. So their feelings may get offended more earlier, or they may dwell more in nostalgia, both good and bad feelings of the past. At any rate, their word of the week, and this is a nice one for water signs because I think it's mostly true anyway, is versatility. And so, water signs, within this context of the emotional realms we're going through, I want you all to kind of think um, a little bit about how we can be flexible, we can flow like water, and be moderate and temperate and flow with the situations. So, I think that's what water signs have to consider this time. You know, sometimes I'm losing track of time. I keep thinking it's February, even though I know it's not. It's actually April. So I'm kind of astonished that I feel that way. Uh, but it is what it is. And like I mentioned before, this reading is good for April the 10th through the 16th. So let's go ahead and take care of the reading for water signs before I become even more confused. No, I think I won't. So I'm shuffling those cards now. And our cards. We have a reversed Five of Pentacles. We have the upright Four of Swords. And then as if, oh, I'm sorry. The first card is the King of Coins or Discs reversed. But we do have the Five of Discs, the Five of Coins. Maybe I saw that one first and forgot I saw it first. I don't know how I do that, but so that one is reversed. So King of Discs reversed indicates to me that in this week ahead for you water signs, you're going to be obsessed a little bit, or you're going to be really having some troubling feelings about your financial status. Maybe you were expecting certain things to happen. We're all concerned about our livelihoods and our incomes, and some of us are waiting on some government stimulus money. And so I think in this week ahead, we're still not feeling that confident. We're sort of feeling like we're kind of at the whims of other people as far as this goes. So that's not especially happy to think about. But it may just be more within the realm of our emotions, and that's what I'm getting there. Now with the Four of Swords, though, I'm also thinking too that there's the traditional meaning is kind of like cutting back, pulling back, you know, possibly taking some sort of sabbatical or hiatus. But I'm thinking with this one, it's also really about cutting back to plan more. It's maybe about positioning and strategizing for when you will be more active. And so I'm thinking water signs, you're going to be thinking about things like that too, how you can kind of use some of this time to maybe plan ahead. So it's really, this is a card of planning ahead. And I'll have to be honest, as a Scorpio water sign, sometimes I sort of just flow with the whims of fate, and that I plan ahead very much in an abstract sense. But maybe water signs like me will be reconsidering that. Finally, on a better note too, in a way, the Five of Discs reversed, maybe indicating that we are coming through some of the worst for water signs, emotional signs, the worst of our depression over this issue, and our feeling that we're lacking a source of hope or inspiration or support. So we're starting to see again that, of course, that connection is there, and that we are going to have something to rely upon. So I hope that's true for water signs. It looks like a mixed bag, but it mostly looks like what's going on with most of the signs. We're in little patterns that are sort of giving pause to life to some degree and maybe reconsideration in certain areas. So that's what I have for you, my fellow water signs. And finally, now we're going to move on to earth signs. Earth signs. These are the signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. I know these signs well. As a water sign, I gravitate highly to most earth signs, mostly in a good way, but I occasionally have some little minor frick-a-frack. But that's, earth signs are just really practical, and I'm not so practical. So I have to admit that sometimes I resent them knowing better, and I never want to admit that. Don't tell Mr. Monster Hunter, my Capricorn son. At any rate, we have a word of the week for the earth signs, and that is exchange. And although I don't know what actual tarot card this equivalates with, because of course they have these numberings and they don't exactly follow the regular set except for the major arcana, I get the feeling that this is about giving. And obviously, I'm thinking it may be a cup. I'm not sure. But at any rate, the giving here, the exchange, is about fairness. So earth signs, consider fairness. Consider being reciprocal. Consider being appreciative of what you get, but also appreciative of that opportunity to also share. And as you do that, perhaps that really embroiders upon all of us being able to do that. I want to think that. So that's what word I have for earth signs. And we'll go ahead and shuffle the cards and get this one done. Remember to watch our live streams on Thursday nights Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And on Sunday afternoons, Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll also be doing more content. There's a rumor that maybe we're going to be getting ourselves on Patreon and creating, finally at last, our slew of various services. We're well qualified to do lots of intense readings, so check it out when we get that going. You may be really interested in getting a reading from us and supporting us a little bit more so we can bring you all the free content that we do bring you. So we would appreciate any level of support. Even just sharing and commenting is a wonderful thing. So here we are with earth signs, and they have the Lovers reversed, but they also have Strength upright. And they have the Princess of Discs upright. And normally, I would say this is an awesome card for emotionality this week. Although, a set of cards. Although the Lovers talks about a decision that maybe results in some embarrassing things or some things that you'll find are not really what you want. And I'm not totally sure it's about a primary relationship. It could just be about situations that are moving towards very exclusive. But I think the Strength card is telling me your consideration really is about what are the best things you can do right now. That all of us are having to rise above vice as we may see it in our lives and be the best possible we can, because literally survival of so many people depend upon that. And yet I see also too with the earth signs a really strong card for them or for any sign if they got it. But to me, this really so rings true for earth signs. It's the Princess of Discs, which is analogous to the Page of Coins in most other rider type decks. And so it's saying this is a person who really is in it for the haul. They may be a student of life forever. They may be studious. They may persevere. They may have very lofty things that they focus on, and they're pretty good at keeping their focus there. And that result comes forth, hopefully. If this is just the week ahead, I think it's a good start for something to really build on. It looks like maybe it's moving ahead with a relationship. Maybe it looks like it's really coming to terms with the relationships that you have to. So I wish you luck, earth signs. That's pretty much what we have for you. So once again, this has been a wonderful week of Oberon's outlook on the emotional exchanges, brought to you through TFT Tarot for Today. Join us next Friday, and that's April 17th, and we'll have more. So thank you very much again for coming.